It's NAB 2022 and we're on the Cinegy stand, and with us is Kirkaldie. Hi Lewis, how you doing?
Oh, pretty good. Yeah,
Nice
pretty
to see
tired
you.
even already on day one.
It's been a while since we've seen you.
I know. I need to remember how to do these things.
So give us a quick update, what's been happening with Cinegy since we saw you last?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a few years, and we kept on working away all the way through the COVID lockdown, and we've been busy adding features to our core products. So as before, I'll take you through a few of the key ones we've got. So we've got Play Out with Cinegy Air. So we've actually made some quite big enhancements to that around the way that you can roll it out, the way that you can scale it, the way that you can scale it in the cloud, and also the way that you can then get like functional telemetry metrics from it. So you can see on Cinegy Open, where we put some blog posts about this, how we can now output data straight from the Air engine about how its disk read timings are going, how many frames it took in and spat out in any given 5-second slice, and produce all sorts of really cool graphs, link it all into the host of the health. So if you see you've got some on-air problems, you can literally look side by side with that to see, oh, but my GPU's really hot when like we've probably got a cooling problem in that rack. So we've done quite a lot of work around adding more and more telemetry and insight into these things. Of course, one of our favourite topics, SRT, continued to get better over the course of lockdown with the release of the 1.4 version and some of the sub-points after that. With that, we added encryption straight into Cinegy's SRT implementation, as well as the ability to control and override the latency, so the error correction time. You can shrink and expand that window as necessary. And again, you can now look at all the SRT stats for all of the signal feeds straight through exactly the same mechanism as we have for the normal telemetry. So you can actually use that to understand what is your round trip time between your camera source and your engine, and use that to make an estimate of how much protection do I need. Because it's always a kind of subjective thing. It depends on conditions as to, I'm losing just a few packets and it's a really short hop. I don't need a lot of latency, or it's Australia and I lose quite a few packets, so I need to put quite a few seconds in. So you kind of need that insight to do that. So we've added all these extra enhancements there, and people have been having a lot of fun using SRT, especially with COVID. That became even more important. So we had entire launches entirely in the cloud, just using all this technology to bring channels on air while everyone was just stuck at home. So that's been reflected in the updates that came out in the 2 releases of Air since we last talked. And on top of all of that, we've continued making enhancements to our CG graphics. So we've got some cool new controllers showing off kind of reference examples of elections and sports. We've enhanced Cinegy Capture to add some more codecs, improve our XD cam quality. Now Cinegy Capture uses SRT for its previews, so it's much easier for people to use that integrated preview streams from both Air or Capture and bring them onto a Multiviewer, one of ours or someone else's product, so we can kind of plug and play more of these things in. And so in Cinegy Capture, we added support for NDI as an input a few years ago now, but it's been a while. And we optimized the performance to get 8K ingest working in that shipping native product, which is quite a demanding workload. So we had to improve the pipeline and move the whole pipeline onto GPU to make that work, and that's running great. Other things we do with Multiviewer, that's had GPU optimization, so we can now actually achieve incredible density of H.264 and HEVC decoding inside that Multiviewer. So Yaroslav made a post in one of our kind of COVID lockdown technical conferences where he got 100 channels of HD decoding on one machine by using 4 interleave GPUs. And that was pretty cool. And we messed around and did the automated launch of 250 channels in 10 minutes in Amazon. So the Cloud Nukem strange name challenge that we just threw up for fun because we were going a bit stir crazy on lockdown, where we've added a lot more of our experience in cloud automation to the product and to Cinegy's GitHub pages. So you can actually see the reference templates for how we go about kind of commissioning an Air channel automatically on a VM in the cloud, and how we can scale those and pre-configure them using scripting. I mean, it's just nearly limitless stuff we've done. We've added a whole subtitling capability, so we can now generate from first principles teletext, which is still really a heavily used thing. You wouldn't believe it, but it's critical. Even though it doesn't normally get to end users, it's machine readable, so that's what gets used on all contribution circuits. And we added DVB encoding as well in the last drop, and we're about to make that a fair bit better soon, adding some much needed features to that DVB would then mean people really can just kind of get everything they need from the one Cinegy Air bundle, graphics, play out, encoding, audio shuffling, and now subs. So yeah, I mean, it's been busy days. As usual, and there's a load of things that we're also doing that we're not ready to talk about yet.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
Cool.
That's what I was going to ask you. So, preview into what customers might expect over the next 5 to 6 months.
So we are looking at what we call Cinegy Cloud, where we want to try and make the first ever hosted offering to customers, so that they can actually, just enter and sign up, and then not have to deploy any equipment themselves at all. So we do have that. We've been showing it to a few people here, and there have been some things online where we've talked about it or demoed it. So the future for us is to continue to try and ever increase our capability in the cloud, up to and including doing some things as hosted services, but also still leaving customers with the option to run entirely on-premise with no internet connection at all if they want on their own equipment, or what we think will end up being the most common thing, which is the hybrid model, where perhaps, for example, some broadcasters may run their playout engines on-premise still, because that's the thing they need to be operating, and they want to be able to kind of lose everything coming into the building but still have an antenna on top. But they may actually allow things like content prep or things that can run ahead of time to run up in the cloud components, or all the telemetry metrics. All that stuff can run up in the cloud, because if you lose those, you're still on air. You're just a bit more blind, but that can be a compromise people are willing to do sometimes.
How far in the future do you think it will be until people are comfortable with everything on the cloud, in the cloud, and nothing on-prem at all?
Well, we have a customer that basically does that with some big channels here in the States. We don't have clearance to say who they are, but we've done it a few times on a few different channels and customers, and I mean, it works. It really does. I mean, that's why we had to put a load of the telemetry stuff in, because we would find we'd come up on a VM and it's like, why is this not working quite right? It's like, its GPU's quite hot. Let's restart the instance to a different machine. So it is doable, but it requires, as with all great projects, it's a technology change and a business change, a business process change and workflow changes, and it's always difficult when people do all three of those things at once. But we've, some customers have boldly done it and made a success of it. But I think that what we see from a number of people is they pick what works best for the day that they're working on. So we had the Virgin in the UK, who I can name, launch their UHD channel a couple of years ago with Globecast in the UK, and for expediency they had to launch in the cloud. There was no way they could get their stuff done in like the 6 weeks turnaround. They had to get it done. So they came on air, they were in Amazon, but then a few months later, maybe about 6 months later, they bought it to on-prem equipment that they'd outright bought, because that was a cost optimization at the time, given the availability of machines there in the cloud then. And so they had the business freedom to do that, and they could just move in the direction they needed to at the time. And then they moved other services onto AWS back from on-premise, where there were some smaller footprint channels that meant they could make the business case to do that and not renew equipment. And so what I think is important about this is the flexibility that we don't have to say to customers, "Yep, use our hosted service. That's what you've got. You better trust us, because we're not going to show you what's inside the box." You just have to have faith. They have options. They can run it all on premise still. They can run it all still ring fenced with no internet or anything. So we think that's an important USP to keep, even as we continue to extend up our cloud capabilities. It's going to be an interesting couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything you've spoken about is available now, shipping now?
Yes, the cloud desktop isn't out yet,
of course,
but all the other stuff, absolutely. The latest Air updates, all those features I listed off for all those products, Capture, Multiviewer, Air, all of that is shipping and ready for production use.
And for those who haven't managed to make it here to Central to see you at NAB, where can they find all the information they need? So
we love to keep all of our information out there in the open. So just type into Google anything you want to know about us, and you will get jumped straight to the page.
Cool.
So just type in Cinegy Air DTMF if you want more retro technology, and it will jump you to that manual page. I actually use Google to find a lot of our own information these days, since we put all of our information not behind any login walls. So
fantastic. Cool. Thanks, Lewis.
No problem.
There we go. Check out Cinegy.com is the main site, or just Google what you're looking for and you will find it. For everything else that we're doing at NAB, you can find that at kitplus.com.